mouth is when I'm ocean waves.
Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I have Marymount soccer coach Nathan Kalin. His Marymount team has qualified for the NCAA tournament. I believe the first time in school history. Congratulations, coach, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I was going through your record today, and you have really been able to build programs quickly wherever you've been, very, very impressively. But where did you play your soccer, and how did you get started in the game?
Yeah, so I'm probably one of the few unique stories. I didn't really play at college. I got recruited to go to Lycoming, and in preseason, in our first scrimmage, had pretty much a season-ending injury, and
Oh, wow.
And needed to be around the game, right? You come up through the system, and you're like, this is what I dreamed of, and got into coaching. I was coaching a U10 team up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where I went to Lycoming, and then I started getting into some other teams that I started coaching. I just like, wow, like this is a pretty good way to be involved with a game, and I just kind of fell in love with coaching. And I guess you could say I did it the hard way because I didn't have the college pedigree, I didn't have professional pedigree, I just had coaching pedigree, and I just kind of worked my way up, and just kind of fell into the lap of timing, I guess, and meeting the right people. So my mentor is the head coach at Lehigh University, Dean Koski, who came and did a camp for my at that point was a U16 team out in Pennsylvania. I emailed like 30 coaches all over the state and said, hey, someone come and do a camp for my team. Only one to reply. And from that day on, we built a really great friendship relationship. He got me into college coaching, and has continued to be my mentor, one of the first guys to congratulate me when the game was over. So that's kind of how I got started in the college world. I was living out in Long Island, teaching high school, coaching a high school team when the NYU Poly job opened up late July. I was 26, and I'm like, why not? You know what? I'll apply and see what happens. Probably not going to get it. I'm too young, never been a head coach. And they offered it to me a week later, and now 15 years later, here we are.
So what is it about college coaching that you enjoy? Though, obviously the good thing about being a college coach is you don't have to necessarily have another job, which often coaches, they teach as you did, or they have another job and just coach on the side. But in terms of the soccer itself, what do you enjoy about the college game as compared to maybe high level club or professional soccer or whatever?
It's the relationships, it's the time you spend. This is a family. I always joke, I don't have kids, but I have 35 kids. They're all like sons to me, adopted sons for 4 years and beyond. We certainly that's the sign of a good coach if they stay in touch with you beyond. But it's the bus trips, it's the jokes and the time together and the lighthearted moments. It's just it's not a job. It's so much better than that. And people always tell me, what's it like? I was like, it's not work. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It is incredibly hard when your job relies on 18 to 22-year-olds. But I love it. And like I said, the relationships and just watching these guys come in as 18-year-old, 17-year-old, immature, goofy, and just leaving as adults and ready for the real world and grown and mature. And that's just the best part when you see that 4-year process run its course.
Well, you mentioned the Lehigh coach. I forgot his name already. I'm sorry.
Dean Koski. Yeah.
Dean Koski. Well, you've coached, I guess, quite a few years now, 12, 13 years now, I think you said. And, the game changed. Like, for example, in 2010, everything was the way the way Spain played, the little ball. And then, the game got more direct when Germany was up. Has your coaching evolved as the times have changed, or have you found a style that you've been very comfortable with and stayed with it?
I think what I've learned and part of, I think, the success of changing a program quickly, right, is you have what you like to coach and you have a style that you're comfortable with. But if you don't adapt to what you have, the players, the talent, the pieces that, I say the pieces of the puzzle, if you don't adapt to that, you can love a 3-5-2 all you want, but you know what? If you don't have three center backs that can play that are athletic, you're not going to be successful. If you're playing a 4-3-3 and your wings are out of shape, you're wasting you're wasting two forwards. So you can love it as much as you like, but it comes to adapting to who you have, putting their strengths together, right, and making that puzzle. And so that's how I've learned to adapt, is as far as formations and stuff. But then also, I think the best teams, the best college teams, if you look at them, they can do everything. They can do a little. They can adapt to the moment of the game. They can adapt to what the other team is doing, and whether that requires some balls over the top to push the defense back, or some short passes because you have that room in the midfield. You play with what's given to you. It's a chess game. So
Is it? I'm sorry, Coach.
go ahead.
Is it important to you how you play, the method how you play? I mean, do you want to play attractive soccer, or my understanding is at the college level you have to win. It's just win. How do you approach that?
I'd be lying to you, and my team would be mad at me if I said we didn't like to play attractive soccer, because we do. That's how we go. But at times, yeah, you got to win a game. I mean, our championship was anything but attractive soccer for much of the game. It was one of those just gritty, emotional, up and down, overtime thriller kind of games, and we had to find a goal. We had to find a goal with 2 minutes left to get it to overtime. So yeah, sometimes you just got to find a way to win, because that's how you play in November, right? You just got to find ways to win.
Well, one thing you've been able to do is recruit. And one of your stops, I think it was a new program, you were able to get several top players right away, and you guys, I think you won 16 games right out of the gate. Tell us about that job, and also about recruiting in general. What's your philosophy about recruiting?
Yep. So that was a special team. They started a men's program there at the College of New Rochelle, and they asked me to come over and start it. And I thought, wow, what an opportunity. We got out there and we landed some, what was then the DA, now MLS Next.
It's always something.
Yeah, we landed, 3 or 4 guys, including, a kid that's just was amazing at scoring goals. I believe, gosh, I think it was 30 goals and 20 assists that year. I mean, that's just, it is the NCAA record for a freshman as far as points. And we set the scoring record that year as a team, and had the best start for any new program in NCAA history. So that was just incredible. And I guess, recruiting is hard, but you know what, if you love doing it, and the one thing I learned myself, because I had a lot of guys, a lot of colleagues would say, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time going to MLS Next. Don't waste your time with, focus on what you're Division III. And I just never accepted that. I was like, no, you know what? It's about the program. It's about what I can do, what I can give these kids, and what they can get in return, right? With their experience. And so we had that team, and gosh, unfortunately, the school closed.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
Yeah, after that year, that remarkable year we had, the school went bankrupt, was multi-million dollars in debt, and so that team scattered. And irony, several of them went to Division I programs. So I mean, it was just kind of validation of how special that team was. But when it comes to recruiting, I'm not afraid to go anywhere and recruit. I think Florida has been a hotbed for us for multiple reasons. There's no Division III down there, and as I'm sure you're aware, Florida, Miami, Florida State, they don't have men's soccer, so there's not a lot of big time D1s, and those kids are willing to leave. They're willing to come up north because it's still a city, right? Like DC, New York, where I was at. It was Miami-ish to them, right? It was a city, it was culture, lots to do, and it's a 2-hour flight, So checked all the boxes, and we had good schools where I was at, good academic programs. So yeah, I mean, I think just being out there, recruiting, never thinking you don't have a chance. I mean, we have an incoming guy coming in this year from Florida who's probably one of the top center backs, definitely in the South. He's on Weston's academy team, MLS Next. Really excited about that. So yeah, but yet at the same time, when I got here to Marymount, the irony was, Marymount wasn't very good. I'm sure 4 years ago, they were everybody's senior night, and so kids from Arlington, McLean, VDA, Loudon didn't even talk to me. It was like, we're good. Now it's a totally different story. And as you know, we got some real good quality Arlington kids, some Springfield area kids that immediately have made an impact for us. So that's great, like that balance, right? You want to defend your backyard and have those kids, but you also want to get some talent in other areas that maybe other people just don't know about. If you can recruit, I always joke with some other coaches. I'm like, well, I could recruit with you for this kid here in Northern Virginia or Eastern PA. There'd be 10 of us going after that one kid, or I can go down to Florida, get the same level player, and I only got one other coach maybe recruiting him. So 50-50.
So what is the mood when you recruit local kids? I interviewed a guy named Jim Lewis, legendary basketball coach from the area. He was actually the first Black player to play in the integrated basketball leagues here, and ended up coaching George Mason women. And he told me he didn't like to spend a lot of time on local players because he said a lot of them wanted to go out of town to go to college. So he didn't spend time. And one of his best players ended up at some point. She called him up and said, "Are you going to recruit me or what?" And he ended up Kerry ended up being a 50 Cachonas. Kerry Cachonas ended up being a 30-point a game scorer and played in the WNBA. But do you find that some kids want to travel to other places and try something new, or it just depends on the kid?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the kid. It depends on the academic, path that they're on. Look, there are some kids that, are very, very academic and have, Georgetown, American, Loyola, Johns Hopkins in their plans, and that's great. We always respect that, but I think you just have to find the right kid, the kid that wants to, for Northern Virginia, maybe wants to stay home, but also wants to live on campus. Like we have a bunch of kids that live within 45 minutes of here, but they're like, you know what, that's far enough. I can go live on campus, and then if I do want to go home, I'm close enough. So I think it's just it's finding the right kid that wants to be a part of who we are, and is comfortable with staying in Northern Virginia. So we've found those kids, and certainly winning helps. When you winning program, you want to be a part of that, and so that's we've finally gotten to that point now. I think where people consider us as okay, good soccer program, good school, affordable for the most part, and not too far from home. Mom and dad can come see me play.
Yeah. Well, you spent some time at Albany, a Division I school, and you guys did quite well, like you've done in all your jobs. Is it a very different job coaching Division I than it is coaching Division III? I mean, obviously, your recruiting strategy has to be a little bit different, even though you try to approach it the same way. But do you find the game different and the job different?
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I mean, not too many people can say they went to Maryland and won. When we did that in the NCAA tournament, so it was special, right? It was a special year for me. Great players, I think three guys that went to play pro off that team. I'm fortunate to keep in touch with at least one or two of them regularly. But it is a different model. It's for the most part. I'm not you can never lump everything in one and say they're all the same. But Division I's a little more business-like. It's about winning. Kids are on athletic scholarships, so there's that expectation. There's that little more business-like approach, and so the relationships are different. It's having come from D3 and then going there, I took that model into it, and I remember at times being told, hey, be careful with your relationships with them. This is business-like this, and I couldn't do that. I had to care about them, right? And care about them as humans and care about the relationships they have with each other. And I think that was a big part of my role, was kind of keeping the team together off the field, keeping people happy and just being there to talk to them. Sometimes even if it had nothing to do with soccer. And I think sometimes at Division I that's forgotten because it's just so driven on winning. And if you're not going to do it, the next guy will. We'll just out recruit you. And so I think that was probably the part that I just was like, what, I don't know if this is for me. Division III seems to be the better model where I can really develop players, care for them more, and have those relationships, and it not be so, cutthroat. Like one of our biggest values here at Marymount is sharing. We share everything from positions to awards to, successes and defeats, frustrations, right? We share it, and that's been driven into them. And I think that's a huge part of athletics and a team sport is sharing everything. You can go out for 90 minutes and do nothing, or you can go on for 2 minutes and win the game. And between that, if I did 88 and you did 2, and we in our position at forward won, I was thrilled. You got the 2 minutes, you got the goal, but I was out there too, and we shared that, right? Yeah. So I just think that's a big difference with the Division I. And then with playing, I think, a lot of Division I, it's very direct, it's very physical and big and all built on set pieces. And so not always the best soccer, as far as like you said earlier about playing and showcasing skills. Sometimes at Division I, it's like, just figure out a way to score, go that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Marymount's in the Atlantic East, which is a conference of mostly Catholic schools, but all private schools. What's the conference like? Do you enjoy the conference? And what's the style of soccer in the conference?
It's a good balanced conference. Some people have said to me, "Oh, it's only 7 teams. You got an easy shot every year." Well, not when 6 of them can beat each other. Mm-hmm. So it's a good balance. Great coaches. The coaches in the conference, I love working with them. They're all good people, and again, it's pretty balanced. There are some different styles within, but I think everyone truly wants to play the game the right way. You look at our record this year in conference, a lot of the games were 1-goal games, 3-2 over Immaculata, 1-0 over Newman. We played our best game of the year against Cabrini, who was the reigning champions, and beat them 3-0. And I can tell you that's not a reflection. We just played amazing. And I don't know if they played their best that day, but, and then we had to take Centenary we lost to them actually in the 5th place team we lost to in the regular season. And then took them to the 82nd minute, I think, to win at home in the tournament. And then Newman, going to go to penalty kicks. So I think it's a very balanced conference, and that makes it harder. Sometimes you'd rather have a 10-team conference and know you're gonna beat the bottom 4 and make it, right? Where and 7-team conference where darn near everybody can beat you. Twin and Mercy's had a rough year this year, but it's a good conference. So.
Now, do most of the schools like Marymount not have football? And what does that do to a program? Are there some kids that want to play at a school that also has football, or is it nice to be the focal point and the soccer team is like the most one of the most important sports? I guess basketball usually is pretty important as well.
Yeah, so none of the schools in the Atlantic East have football, and I think that's a great thing. Certainly for us, I think at Marymount, certainly we're one of the draw teams with homecoming. We were the marquee game this year. Basketball, certainly. We've got great basketball programs, and it's on campus. We're off campus, so it's a little harder to get the crowds at Longbridge. But I think in general, most of the time, if a kid wants to play college soccer, I don't think that, oh, man, I wish I could go to a football school and, because they're playing on Saturdays. So I don't think it comes in for me. It's not coming to the recruiting realm too much where kids like, well, do you have football and what's the crowds like? And, they want the crowd, right? Because they're thinking soccer is the big sport there. So limelight, like the spotlight's on me. So,
Mm.
so yeah, it hasn't been too much of an issue. It was at Albany a little more, you know, because you're talking with bigger kids who want big spotlight, and if they could go to Albany or Penn State, well, I think I'll go to Penn State. Maybe I can catch some football games on an off weekend, you know. But
Yeah.
we don't really deal too much with those kids that are thinking like that. So,
Yeah. Well, plus we always have the Commanders, right?
that's
So,
right. That's right.
so let's talk about your team. I mean, you have and first of all, you have an amazing striker, Leonardo Torres, who's only a sophomore, had 18 goals and 7 assists this year. And you have a playmaker, Derek Rivera, who had 10 assists. But I saw the all conference teams. You had lots of players on the different teams. So talk about your team a little bit and your style of play.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the biggest, you know, given I think everyone knows this about us, but we're very deep. You know, we even in tight games, we'll go 20 deep, and we won't lose anything. And sometimes we'll, you know, because we're so level, sometimes, you know, your substitutes, your first guys on, actually elevate the game for us. You know, Leo's a special player, hands down. I mean, you know, you don't score 17 goals as a freshman, 18 goals as a sophomore, twice, you know, once in his freshman year and once this year, be National Player of the Week. You know, he's going to be definitely all region, maybe an All-American. You know, we'll see how, you know, but he's got that consideration, right? And so does Mary Washington. They have Josh. He's got 18 goals. So it's, you know, when we get to matchups, that's going to be phenomenal to see those two players on the same pitch. But you know, I think our back line really, you know, we've only given up, gosh, I think it's 14 goals all year.
Wow.
And when you're giving up less than 1 goal a game, you're going to win. You know, if you're going to have a good chance of winning, and that's a huge credit to our defense, which has been amazing. Which mostly is 3 freshmen. You know, we have a senior center back, our captain Carlos Verona, one of my first recruits when I got here. You know, and then heavily we've been relying on three freshmen around him, and 2 of them from Lewis, who, you know, those kids know how to win, going deep into the state playoffs, and a goalkeeper, Byron Benegas, that has just been amazing for us. So when you have that behind you, that, you know, that wall almost, it allows you to do a lot, right? It allows you to take some chances in the midfield and certainly take some chances up top. You know, I'd be wrong to say, you know, we've got another forward who just doesn't have the stats, but is as good of a creator as Leo, and Manny Gennard. He's just the workhorse on the right wing, and creates so many chances that get us into the final third. And then, you know, once we get up there, things usually happen. So, you know, he's done phenomenal. Derek Rivera set the school record in assists this year. And you know, he's played wherever we've asked him. You think he was just the 10 all year, but he spent over half his games at left wing. So, you know, he's done a fantastic job. Again, part of my first class, him and Carlos. So yeah, I mean, everybody on this team is special in their unique ways and the roles that they play.
Byron is going to be so spectacular. He already is a great player, but I think he's played goalie for 2 or 3 years. I interviewed him last year. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year, I believe. And I don't know if you saw the goal that he scored against Langley. You were there. Okay. Yeah, I was there as well. It was one of the most amazing sporting moments I've ever seen. I mean, I've been around basketball, football all my life, and to have a goalie come up, and it was a really, really well played game. But it was rainy. It was hard to get goals that day, and the kid, I mean, to score that goal, the poise he showed, he somehow found the upper right corner. You know, it's so easy to sky those balls because you're in a hurry, and it just kind of shows you what kind of athlete he is.
He made it look easy. You know, most forwards would have shanked that, you know, like badly, and he just kind of was like, okay, I've done this 100 times, bang. But what a moment, right? Like, you know, and to think that he's only played goalkeeper really 2.5. Well, this is his 3rd full year now. I mean,
yeah, he was a house player playing the field, and then he started playing goalie.
Yeah, it's And so fortunate that Coach John at Lewis, said, "Hey, you need to come look at this kid. Yeah, I know you got Merlin and Dylan coming, but you need to look at this kid." And I went to a practice, and I was just like, "Okay, there's definitely something here." And he's great, and he's a great kid. They're
He's a
all,
great kid.
he's just very humble and hardworking, and just loves what he just loves what he does.
Yeah, he's like a big cat. I mean, the way he springs out after the ball, I mean, yeah, he's very special. Well, I did notice looking at your record this year that you went through a lull mid-season. But like all teams really want to do. You seem to have peaked for the postseason. I mean, over the last 4 weeks or so, I think you've won or tied every single game. Did I read that right? Is the team look like it's on the upswing going into the NCAA's?
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal of any coach. Is we always say there's 4 seasons in the year. There's the preseason, not non-conference season, conference season, and postseason. And non-conference is to learn who we are, right? To learn what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and to get knocked down. Like, you need to get knocked down to know how that feels. And we got knocked down against Hood. We Catholic was a great game, 2-1. We felt good about it, even though we lost. Stevenson, a little bit of a rough game. Good team, but we just didn't play well. But Hood was like really like the punch to the face. When you outshoot a team, it was 20 something to 1 or 2, and they scored. And I remember that night so clearly. The team was just so devastated. We were, just trying to find ourselves and understand why. And I remember one of the kids just like, as we were coming to the huddle, he was just saying, why did this happen to us? And I remember telling the guys, like, there's a reason why this happened. And I don't know that answer today, but sometime down the road, we're going to figure out why this happened to us. And, that was why. It made us realize that pain of like being down in the valley and looking way up to the mountain. And it made us work harder. It made us be more disciplined. It made us be more aware that every game matters, every minute matters, every touch matters, every defensive choice. All those they matter. And so I look back to that 3-game losing streak and say it defined us. It said, yes, you can play with what was then. They were getting votes nationally, Catholic. They were regionally ranked, and we outshot them. It was 2-1. It was a great game. So it's like, hey, we can play with the top teams. But then, just 4 or 5 days later, the Hood team, who's having a little bit of a tough year, sneaks one out on us. At home. That hurts.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot about yourself, and that's,
The
I think,
game's the game sometimes is kind of cruel,
it's very cruel. I mean, it's beautiful and it's cruel at the same time.
Exactly. Well, I know Coach Kilby really well. He said a lot of great things about you today. Tell us a little bit about the Mary Washington matchup, and what do you think about Mary Washington as a team?
Yeah, Coach Kilby, great coach, good colleague and friend. I think we're always seems like we're always at the same places recruiting, and he's a hard worker. He's got a great team, and also my predecessor is the goalkeeper coach there now. So that will be kind of an irony in that we'll be playing our first ever NCAA game against our former coach, who was the only coach before me. But Mary Wash is a very good team. They're big, they're physical, but they can play. They're good on set pieces. We scrimmaged them. We scrimmaged them at the beginning of the year. It was a really cool event down in Stadium. Christopher Newport, us, Hamden Sydney, and them. So probably for what we said then was probably 4 of the best teams in Virginia at one place, and we did well in the scrimmage, and I think that I think for both teams it was probably like a little relief to see that matchup when the NCAA is doing their show, and they're like, okay, like this is going to be good. We both know we can win. It's not like we drew Messiah or Johns Hopkins, or William Washington Lee, all, that top 10 teams. This is a very level game. I think they know that. I think we know that. I think and the cool thing is there's so many kids from Northern Virginia. Like I was just talking with the Arlington people tonight from the club side. There's 7 Arlington alums going to be in this game on Saturday. Like how cool is that to have that environment? And I think it's great field, great facility. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people there. So the kids deserve it. They deserve to have a great game, and I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I was looking at my son's former teammates that are playing this week. Juan Torres, great right back from Alexandria. Brandon Bonilla, Freddie Vargas. He played Tristan Kickbush for them, and they have one more player that escaped me. But it's crazy, and I've been taking pictures of soccer since he started playing. I've taken pictures of all these kids. I had pictures of them all from when they were little kids. So I'm very excited. How important is the home field? Does it mean that much in a game like this?
Well, I think you have to, they have to believe in that, just like we have to believe in that. But it's the NCAA tournament. I think it just all goes out the window. It's going to be who can stay disciplined, who makes the fewest mistakes, and who doesn't let the emotions and the excitement, get to them, right? We told our guys multiple times, be excited. You're human. There's going to be butterflies, but when that whistle blows, that's the butterflies leaving, right? Like you just have to go do what you've done since you've been 5 years old. Let's play a game. Yeah. But I think there's certainly, the odds makers would say, there's certainly an advantage to being, at home. You sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
You do your normal routine. You walk out onto your field, your bench, your fans. That matters. But I think it kind of the whole environment of the NCAA kind of closes that gap a little bit. So I think, and we played there. We played North Carolina Wesleyan there in the opening season tournament. So we've been on that field. So I think that's a relief to us too. Like, okay, we've been there and we played well. North Carolina Wesleyan, we lost 1-0, and I think they beat them 1-0. So it's kind of, you look at a lot of the similar opponents this year and pretty similar scores. They tied Stevenson, we lost close. Same with Catholic. So it's I think you look at that and you say you would expect this is going to be a close game, and the team that makes the most of their moments, right, is going to probably come out on the top.
I believe the rounds are almost kind of played in two game sets, right? You got to kind of, so when you're trying to approach these games, and you're lucky you have a deep bench, but because it's kind of a 2-game weekend set, do you have to play more kids so you can have some legs in the second game, or do you always go all in because there's really no tomorrow if you don't win the first game?
Yeah, I think this is the shame of the game that the NCAA does to Division III, to make us play 2 days in a row when Division I doesn't have to do that. It's really a shame, and we continue to fight that battle. We're going to keep fighting that battle. But yeah, I think you have to play like there's no tomorrow. So you have to kind of do what you got to do because that's what the other team's doing, right? We're both going to advance. We're both going to be tired. In the back of my mind, am I going to be thinking about that? Sure. You have to. I think any coach that's been around this game long enough and knows how important it is thinking 2 games ahead, or at least 1 game ahead, but still having to stay focused, on winning the game that's currently being played. So I do think you have to put your best foot forward in the first game. If you had to go 20 deep to do that, or 22 deep to do that, and then you take it, you worry about tomorrow.
So, well, look, Coach, this has been great. I felt like I met you before. Did you ever work over at Alexandria helping out over there some, or?
Yeah, I've been over there plenty. I coach club at Mount Vernon. I've been over at Alexandria a few times, just for different events. Sometimes the college nights and different things. So yeah, I try to stay active in the club community. I've been over at McLean with some of the guys over there, Arlington,
Yeah.
trying to be a good member of the community, and just help out when I can. So yeah, I'm sure we've probably run across each other.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, our coach had quit, and I think you were just consulting with the club, and you jumped in and helped for a few weeks until they got back. My son his name is Chandler Brown, and he really liked you. He thought you were a good coach. And I remember it was just for maybe a few weeks, and then I think we ended up getting Scott Sinkier was ended up finishing that season. So he was also a great guy. So it all worked out great. But well, anyway, Coach, I hope to make it down on Saturday. I wish you best of luck, and hopefully we can keep in touch and we can talk soccer later on another one of these podcasts.
Yeah, love to. Got World Cup coming up too. I'm sure you're gonna be excited about that. It's like Christmas in November for us.
It's gonna be great. Maybe I can get a bunch of college coaches on, and we can all give our picks for the tournament.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.